Comics. Welcome to the Atomic Fallout Society. Welcome to the Atomic Fallout Society. Welcome to the Atomic Fallout Society. It's a very twisted tale. Very twisted tale. Welcome to the Atomic Fallout
Yeah, it's just a for whatever reason he wanted this. Alright. Hi, this is Tony Sabal of the Atomic Fallout Society. I am here with my brother to my right, David Sabal, and our comrade in arms, Mr. Brian Smith. We welcome you to another special episode of the Atomic Fallout Society, taped live here at Gotham City Comics in beautiful downtown Mesa. The second time that we have actually done a live show here. Yeah, second time, and apparently we scared people off. No, you know, like there was some people behind us, but apparently they've moved, and probably, I don't know, I blame one of you guys. But anyway, you know, we want to welcome you. We are 2 episodes away from our grand 50th episode, and we will talk about that more. We will talk about that more in the show, but right now I want to get down and start reviewing comic books. As you can see, well, those of you who will be listening to us via iTunes or through atomicfallout.blogspot.com, you do not see what's in front. Wow, that was a good plug. Yeah, exactly.
Well, here's my question. If you're going to plug it, they're already listening to it.
Yeah. So we're providing you know, stimuli, not only audio-wise, but I'm thinking audible and visual stimuli. So anyway, we actually have show notes. I have no idea whose idea was it to do show notes.
Show notes. You see,
but
they're extensive.
According to show notes, well, I'm supposed to go first. Well, yeah. Apparently, you know, like true professional shows do show notes, which is strange. We're the only ones that don't. Before we go on, I want to thank both Miguel and Kevin of Gotham City Comics and Coffee of having us come back for a second time. Apparently we did a good enough impression that they really wanted us back. It's shocking, isn't it? Maybe because also we happened to work with them during Comic Book Insider every Monday night with Brian Augusta. Wow, you are really getting good at this. Well, let's proceed. Let's move on. So, anyway, we have the benefit of doing 3 reviews because we have our buddy, Mr. Brian Smith, with us. Yeah. I will lead off. I will admit that, you know, it was like a last minute of a deciding factor of what I wanted to review. We have some good titles out there. And also not to hold it against my brother, it is Wednesday, so new comics did just come out. Like, new comics just came out, and about an hour ago I just got off of work. So, you know, like I haven't had a chance to even read anything. But I've decided to throw a curveball because I was ready to review a title that's already been mentioned, but I've decided to go ahead and review Harvest from Image Comics. And from what I heard initially, I asked Miguel, whether or not, I asked him just basically, any suggestions to review, and he pointed out Harvest, and I was intrigued by it. Maybe because it's the very first issue, maybe because it was from Image Comics. It's from A.J. Lieberman, who incidentally did Cowboy Ninja Viking and Term Life. Have you guys? I know you guys have heard of Cowboy Ninja Viking. Yeah, which is really cool. I thought it was good. Anyway, Harvest is a. Bro, it's just yeah. You're just waiting for me to move on, aren't you? Okay. Anyway, Harvest is basically delves into the story of black market organs. Which, how can you not have a smile talking about black market organs? And like talking about it basically follows this doctor
who basically was coked out of his mind and had a patient die on his table. You know, so he basically is starting from the bottom up, and it's just it's an introductory into his character, and basically leaves off to him where he's now being asked to do specific jobs for this yet to be unnamed group or organization.
So you mean it's Playing God, the comic.
Playing God, the comic.
Playing God is that movie that the Company did, where he was
coked
out of his mind, and the patient dies on his table. He gets disbarred, and then he
did it do with black market, the black market organs?
No, that's the one thing that's different about it. But he was essentially doing surgery on mafia.
He was like basically like the mafioso doctor.
Yeah, exactly. And
well, evidently this movie didn't mean too much to me because I've never heard of it. Thank you very much.
Well, no, you know what?
This
This
is a great start. Can I move on? Can I continue on? Thank you. But anyway, I just thought that it was nice and gritty. It reminded me a little bit of like
Repo the Genetic Opera.
That's why I was going to bring it up.
Not quite.
Oh no, not that one. Okay.
No, there are no superpowers,
and there's no singing.
No singing as well.
You know what though? Just because it doesn't say they're not singing, doesn't mean they aren't. Maybe it is.
You could sing the dialogue.
You could sing the dialogue.
I really had no issues with the art whatsoever. I had no issues whatsoever. I just
skip right over that.
I just.
Can we do an Atomic Fallout musical?
Oh my God, yes, please. For those of you that can't see at home, he is holding his pen up in a very threatening manner.
So, but anyway, I just thought it's a nice little dark, gritty story. It's for comic book fans that don't necessarily like the superheroes. It's probably, I think it's
there's a big push for like comic books like that though. Well, seriously speaking.
Well, here's the question I'm going to ask you guys: is it just me, or has Image Comics, they're coming out with really good, solid storyline titles?
Right, like Harbinger.
Yeah, you got.
I knew you could say it with a straight face.
Can you remind me why we asked him to be part of the show?
Because he did so well at the Phoenix Comic Con.
Well, I thought you said he did so well at Samurai Comics. By the way, no, I'm not gonna.
Alan Moore's not.
I want to. Let's bring this back down. I like to keep this flowing.
Okay, Captain.
I like Harvest. It's one of those. It's a good comic book. It didn't get a lot of hype. I thank Miguel for pointing it out. I'm a big fan of these type of comic books. So I'm anticipating of exactly where this character is going to be going.
So you like all the comic books that don't have superheroes and stuff in them? So,
I'm one of those fans that
do
I
you
don't
subscribe to the entire Zenescope catalog?
That's an exception.
That's an exception to the rule.
Well, we all know we're not allowed to say anything bad about Zenescope.
Yeah, because
we'll
we might make people angry.
Yeah. Well, first of all, do you think anybody at Zenescope's listening to us?
They will be after this show.
Anyway, my pick for the week, Harvest from A.J. Lieberman.
A.J. Lieberman.
And Image Comics. Definite, give it a shot. Okay. It's different. It's definitely change of pace from the usual comic book stuff that comes out.
Speaking of which,
according to this list, David is up. Well, I will go ahead and proceed to listen to the madness that spews out of your mouth.
Well, everyone knows my bias against Marvel, quite known now, but I'm actually going to cover a title that I actually did enjoy.
It's actually the one sitting in front of him?
Yeah.
We thought about this before. See, the one you reviewed
it's all about organization.
The one he's reviewing is in front of him.
Moving on.
Just saying.
I'm actually covering a title that I've gotten to really like, which is man, you are bad on your timing. Yeah. But Invincible Iron Man by LaRocca and Fraction actually has been a really fun read. It's been really fun. I'm not going to say that it's really great, but it's been entertaining, and especially I'm trying to look at positives nowadays when it comes to Marvel. This is a positive.
But it's completely inconsequential. They're rebooting in 2 months.
Yeah, with Marvel Now coming in.
We'll talk about Marvel now later.
And this is an example, but this is good. This is an example of one of the Marvel titles that's actually done very well because of Fraction. Fraction, I do like Matt Fraction. I like where he's taking Iron Man. Iron Man's become really kind of readable the last couple of years. I mean, back in the 90s and probably early 2000s, it wasn't a really good title. But lately,
you didn't like what was that run where Tony Stark was taking on Norman Osborn?
I have no idea.
That was
that one. I thought it was a very good arc.
That was when Norman Osborn took over Hammer.
Yeah,
that was a good one, but it was short.
Too short.
It was too short. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, at least with this, the latest one that they got in here, Fractions actually got. Literally, he took, because Marvel Now is coming out. He basically said he has to rush the storyline of Iron Man now, so he's throwing literally all of Iron Man's big three villains right at Tony
By the way,
Stark.
please lower your phone.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Oh, he's just busy. You know, you can't help that.
I'm Batman.
You're not supposed to play that one, not until the other one's on. What was that?
I was like going, what the hell was that?
What was that?
You gave me all these sound bites, and it's like,
I'm Batman.
Especially since
really?
I'm not covering Batman, you idiot. That was supposed to be for later.
okay, fine, good, continue.
Anyway, so, but overall, the storyline they got going right now on Invisible Iron Man, it's the future part. It's actually future part 2 for Iron Man number 522, and the future has actually been pretty good. They teased at the fact that they might have killed War Machine, but War Machine came back.
Yeah, okay.
So that's something that's actually been pretty good. The one thing that did kind of like put me off is, remember last episode for the Atomic Fallout, you mentioned about the new suit for Iron Man.
Yes, and you might. I'm sure that you're up to date in speed.
You talking about on Iron Man 3?
Yeah,
that
new suit that they
the
showed.
promo image that Marvel has been rotating around, and they actually did previewed the suit at the past San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, you're talking about the one that in all of the images it looks like it's silver, but it's actually gold.
Yeah,
gold. Yes,
and they've been showing that, and basically they're hinting at the fact that at the end of this, that's the suit that Iron Man's going to get, and they're actually setting it up in here in the future, which has me wondering how, just like what you brought up, Brian, they're doing Marvel Now, but it's supposed to be a reboot. So
It's a soft
is it going to get
reboot.
carried over, or is it not?
yeah,
And then
it's convoluted.
yeah, and this is the reason why I shake my head at Marvel. But
anyway, how's the storyline in Iron Man?
the storyline's actually really good. I really do like it. It's really kind of the important thing for a lot of Marvel superheroes that I always said is like they gotta develop them more. They did it with the Hulk, with World War Hulk. They did it with a lot of things, but then they dropped the ball. They're doing this with Iron Man, where they're actually giving him character development, and it's really good character development that basically you can build a mythos off of.
I gotta admit, I like Fraction's work on Iron Man. I really didn't follow him when he jumped onto Thor. Have you guys read?
And that's the thing. It's kind of like it's weird because like Fraction's run on Thor, I'm sorry, has not been good.
Would you say?
I haven't read it. You guys all know how I feel about Marvel.
Marvel, yeah.
We touched on it, the Samurai a little bit. Like he said, it's convoluted. It's confusing. It's unless you read all of it, you don't know any.
You
of
don't
it.
know any of it.
And it's really tough to kind of jump in. And I mean, a lot of books are like that. A lot of the DC books are like that too. I mean, it's not just a Marvel issue. It's a.
Well, Marvel's worst about
I
it.
agree, because Marvel will have, a character in hell battling through hell while he's also on Earth.
Don't get started with him. He's still reeling from fear itself.
But yeah,
And I get that too. I mean, it's the same thing where you have these crossover books that are supposed to be these huge crossover events, but then they're not just doing that. They're doing so much other crap. Like right now with Spider-Man, he's in the Spider-Man universe, which I understand is a short or whatever you want to call it. It's a miniseries, and but he's there. But then they still have like Avenging and Astonishing or whatever it is, and
yeah, it's still going on. So where does it fit?
Yeah, it's like where does it fit in the grand scheme of things, like in the general lexicon?
I just feel that Matt Fraction, I think Iron Man is his signature title.
Yeah, if you read solely Iron Man right now, that has actually been a solid run.
Well, and Fraction's kind of hit or miss.
Yeah,
either he gets it or he doesn't when it comes to the book. Like
and I think that's a good point.
He either gets the character or he doesn't get the character, and he tries to mold it into something that he does get.
Yeah,
and it makes it confusing for those that have followed the character. Like in Thor, from what I understand, Fraction has taken it off on this little tangent, and it doesn't necessarily make sense for all the other stuff that Thor has done. He's almost changed the character's personality at his core, which you can't do with a character that's been around as long as Thor. There would be like, if Marvel or if DC had done their reboot, and excuse me, you try to change Superman into a whiny teenager. Without the reboot, it doesn't work because he's never been like that.
That's like a backhanded slap there.
I'm just saying. I get what they're doing with it. I get what Morrison's trying to do with Action Comics. I also am not displeased to see him leaving after issue 16.
Again, something we will have to talk about very soon. But
we
anyway, no, reiterating the fact, I think Matt Fraction got a hit. He definitely hit with Iron Man.
And so we go from a okay title to
and I'm interested in this review.
Okay,
because this was a title that I heard some good stuff about, but let's just I'll take it from your point of view of what you thought.
Well, once again, we will preface it by saying that I am not really a fan of Marvel, so it's hard for me to pick up a Marvel book and read it. But with the Avengers movie having come out, and I know enough about it, just working at the shop and whatnot, that I know enough about the character to feel comfortable reading the first issue, especially. Which I did appreciate the fact that it is a first issue without an origin story. I dig that they assume that if you pick it up, it being Hawkeye #1, which is what I'm going to review today, by Matt Fraction. The story in and of itself is kind of a tried and true cookie cutter kind of story. Not to spoil anything, but about halfway through the book you realize where the storyline's going, at least on this first arc, or where you assume that it's going to go. And
isn't that a safe way to probably approach this?
Safe way to approach what? First issue of an ongoing series?
I mean,
to not throw any curveballs at you, to not keep you interested?
Well,
I don't know.
Well, Hawkeye, let's take a look. A character of Hawkeye, is he deserving of a title?
I think by now they have to.
I don't think he is, personally. I think the reason Hawkeye got this book is because of the Avengers movie.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm thinking too. Because it's their way of capitalizing.
It is, no, for sure. It's kind of like the Star Wars thing, where a lot of people's favorite character is the bounty hunter, but he only has like 8 minutes of screen time.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, he was everyone's favorite character from the original saga, but he was literally on screen for like 8 minutes of the 6 hours that were the original trilogy for.
Now I don't want us to go out and offend any Hawkeye fans, because I know Hawkeye has a good amount of fans.
It's just that
he's got a good following. It's just that
there's other characters that deserve actually to be put in the spotlight more than.
Well,
Hawkeye.
My whole thing with it is with Hawkeye, they're doing it ongoing with it. It's not a miniseries. But my guess is, after reading this, it will be a mini-series, or maybe a maxi-series where they run it for a year.
Does that basically sum it up so far?
For me, personally, yes. It's a very...
Did you come into this with high expectations?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Anytime I read a new ongoing series from one of the big two, I don't ever come into it with high expectations because they disappoint so often. With the New 52, the expectation level was different because it was characters that have been held in very high esteem and high regard. Hawkeye's been one of those kind of throw them in there when you need it.
When you need it.
Characters, and essentially, let's be honest here, Hawkeye's the Green Arrow without any money, like I was talking to you about before the show. He's got a bow and arrow, dude. And they addressed that actually in the first couple of panels, which I thought was kind of neat. I was like, oh, okay, that's cute. And so that was kind of neat how they talked about that.
So it's basically he's still in that level where he's not overall appealing, but basically it's
I still think he's a very strong secondary character.
There you go.
I don't know if he can carry a book on his own. Now, having Fraction write it, like we were talking about Fraction, he
is hit or
character,
miss.
or he doesn't. If he hits with this one, it'll be okay. If he misses, it's going to fail. Like there's no way that it doesn't. It's a tough character to write, I think, because he hasn't been flushed out a whole lot.
Is it probably because he really hasn't had an ongoing series?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, he doesn't have like this great mythos around him. Like, you know bits and pieces of his backstory. You know bits and pieces of his skill set. I mean, really, it's a dude with a bow and arrow.
That's what surprised me when you mentioned that they took this time to not give him an origin story.
Right, and which that kind of threw me off a little bit.
I gotta admit that when I heard about the series, I didn't jump up from my chair and said, "Oh, I gotta add this to my pull list."
Yeah, exactly.
But the most appealing thing that I got just without reading it, I like the cover art. I gotta admit, I really do like the art. Maybe it's just me, but I just thought that it's it would different.
It would have been cooler had the cover art had anything to do with the story.
Yeah,
which it doesn't. I mean, like I said, I read the whole story. It's not an origin story, which is kind of neat, but the story that they're about to tell is one that has been told a million times. At least that's how it feels.
Well, let me ask you. This question is important for a person like me. We currently have a big storyline going on in the Marvel Universe, Avengers vs. X-Men. Does this take place after, before? Do you have a sense of?
It's not during. I don't know if it's after or before. There's no way to.
It's ambiguous.
It's very ambiguous because the only superhero in the
so
book
it's really isn't
him.
like an origin per se story.
No, he's already him.
He's already Hawkeye.
It references the Avengers in the book. It references that he's a part of the Avengers, but it doesn't say anything about AVX. It doesn't say anything about anything that the Avengers have ever done with him. The opening shot in the comic is interesting. It's kind of neat. The dialogue that goes with it was funny, and it was the best part of the whole book, at least personally for me. Now, the first 2 pages. Now, I'm sorry, if your best 2 pages are the first 2, you got the problem.
Mm-hmm. But one of the things that you did mention before we started the show was the cover art. I agree is okay. It's very stylized, but the inner art is different.
The inner art's very much like the stylized art on the outside. The problem being is that I felt it was, like we talked about, like they're trying to go back to that throwback 70s kind of look, but they're not using the dot matrix coloring. The dot matrix coloring is what made those 70s books kind of campy and kind of neat, was, you had the little dots for everything. Yeah. This is still using the current color palette that they can use, and the line work I didn't care for, but that's me personally. If you kind of like that throwback look to a book, that's great. I'm not a fan of that.
Who did the art?
Aja.
Okay.
And then Hollingsworth is the color artist, is what I'm guessing on there. Yeah.
David Aja.
David Aja is the artist, and then Matt Hollingsworth did the color. But I mean, just flipping through it, it's very basic. It's not real detail oriented, which is cool. I mean, sometimes that works for a book, and maybe if that's what the story calls for, it'll work. I don't know. It's kind of like Criminal Macabre, how that art is very particular for that book. Maybe that's how they're trying to do that with Hawkeye. They've got a very particular style that they want to do. I don't know. After the first issue, I can't really tell. It's not a bad book. I wouldn't call it horrible. I wouldn't call it terrible. I wouldn't call it horrendous. I just call it kind of meh. I could give or take it. Like, I'm not going to pick up issue 2. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Is it like one of those instances where the first issue had to have captured you?
Oh, for sure.
And that's what you want to do for a first issue. Let's take it outside of Hawkeye. Say, for example, when the first issue of Saga came out from Image, the first issue grabbed you.
Right.
It literally made you want to read.
Right. You were
the next one.
You were waiting for the next one, and even like when Millar did not Hit Girl, because that's what it is, but
Nemesis or Secret Service.
Secret Service, I thought grabbed you. I didn't feel the same way with Nemesis. I did pick it all up, and I read it, and I enjoyed having Batman as a villain. But it was okay. But no, it was kind of like a Kick-Ass. That first issue of Kick-Ass grabbed you.
Yeah,
it did flat out. It grabbed you. It was great. Millar's most of the time very good at grabbing you. I'm not feeling that for fraction on this book. And I think that could be the downfall of the book, is that I think the first issue, to be honest, it's probably going to sell out. It'll probably sell out and get a second printing.
Oh yeah,
mostly because of the hype.
Because of the hype from the Avengers.
But you're
hype from the Avengers.
But I'm saying
the demand after reading this one doesn't really grab you or tell you got to get issue 2.
Well, and that's kind of how I feel about it. Like, the second issue is going to have huge order numbers, and it may even sell out, but not at the comic retailer level.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what happened with the Watchmen titles. All of the first titles they sold, and then looking at balls across the country, issue 2, there's stacks of issue 2.
And yes,
and
be careful. He might show up again.
Right. Well, at least at this point, Dave Gibbons has agreed with him that it's not canon, so you can go with that.
Well, that caught me off guard when Gibbons actually came out and said that.
Not so much for me, because he didn't say anything negative about the book. He just said it's not canon.
Yeah.
Then that's it. That was where he left it, and that's Dave Gibbons' way, is that he'll say something, but it won't be a negative thing, because he still enjoys working for the big two occasionally, so he's not going to ostracise himself and alienate himself the way that Alan Moore has done. And granted, at the same time, if Alan Moore went to DC and said, hey, I want to get back on Swamp Thing, they'd jump at the chance.
Oh, yeah.
Because
that's the power.
Yeah, and he knows that, and that's why he's not afraid of what he says. Gibbons, on the other hand, I don't think he wants to alienate himself at all. He wants to be...
Plus, Gibbons is a nice guy. I don't think...
Exactly. He's not an egotistical jackass.
He's not an egotistical jackass.
That is what it is.
Well, excellent, gentlemen. We've had some pretty interesting reviews. Good with Harvest, and good with Iron Man.
Yeah.
And apparently one that's sort of, like, I would say, disappointing.
I would call it disappointing in that if you had any kind of hopes whatsoever for the book, you're going to be disappointed. If you had no hopes for the book, great, because you were dead on.
Now, congratulations to Brian, though. This has to be the first time ever on a Time Fallout Society a bad title has been talked about.
He's only been on the show 3 times.
I know.
Moving on. Well, moving from one secondary character to another somewhat secondary character, but a character that sort of like picked up some steam lately.
Well, actually, considering what our topics are going to be about today, the thing I want to bring up to you guys is, of course, if everybody out there has been talking about the video that we posted up on Atomic Fallout Society, thanks to the San Diego Comic-Con, it was the fan film of a certain character, the Punisher, that came out. The big thing was the fact that it was done by Thomas Jane and his crew.
Because movie stars are fans as well.
Yeah.
And I think, like...
Here's the thing that I want to actually preface, too, is like, people are making a big deal, well, Thomas Jane's doing it, but you guys everyone has to understand, Thomas Jane is like us. Plus, he's a comic book writer and producer. He produced Bad Planet.
He's like us, but he has more money and he's better looking.
He just has better pull.
And he's much better looking.
Yeah, he's much better looking.
Much better looking.
But anyway, I've always felt, and I want your guys' opinion, let's just take it back. When Punisher came out and Thomas Jane came out, I mean, it wasn't the most almighty greatest like Dark Knight series, but I think he basically held his own.
Here's how I felt about the Thomas Jane Punisher. I think Thomas Jane was amazing as the Punisher. I think the story was incredibly weak, and I didn't care for
Travolta.
Well, obviously, for obvious reasons.
That's because there wasn't a masseuse around.
Well, Jesus.
Really?
No, didn't care for Travolta, and I didn't really care for the Rebecca Romaine storyline that they had in there as well. I thought it made the Punisher too personable.
Yeah, and he's not
supposed to be.
There's no romance.
No, he's supposed to be a very hard character, and they softened it. I thought Jane did really well with what they gave him to work with, but I thought it was a very weak story. I think that was the biggest thing with that was the story. I think was the problem. It wasn't Thomas Jane as Punisher. It's the same way I feel about Superman Returns and Brandon Routh. I thought he did a great job as.
So it wasn't like the weakness. It's not the weakness of the characters outside of Punisher. It was the weakness of the story.
Well, and it's kind of like them when they did the Punisher Warzone with what's that dude's name?
Ray Stevenson.
Ray Stevenson. He had the hardness of the character down. But then it was like they went too far the other direction, but didn't make it gory enough or interesting enough.
It was almost like, when I saw Punisher Warzone, I was comparing it to almost like the campiness. I don't know, maybe campiness might be the wrong word, but the campiness and the over-the-top sort of stuff that I would see on Crank.
Yeah, I
very
mean,
similar.
Very similar. And
very similar to that.
That even
the
still
violence was
doesn't fit the
gratuitous.
It was gratuitous violence. It wasn't story-based violence. It was violence for the sake of violence, kind of like Punisher Max.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, we have good positive vibes for Thomas Jane as the Punisher.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Now bringing it back
Bring
to
it back.
like recently,
But my favorite
he
Punisher
did
is still Dolph Lundgren.
You know what I have to say about that? Actually, bring it up.
Okay.
But
You mean this?
no. The other one. That one. To all the people that say Dolph Lundgren's the best Punisher by far, I have this to say.
He was also the best He-Man.
He's the only He-Man.
Exactly.
He's the
Exactly.
Damn it!
I'm joking.
Hell with it!
Okay, that's 3 sound bites already. Let's bring it back to what we were gonna originally talk about, and that's Thomas Jane's fan film.
Which, if you guys have a chance, go to the Atomic Fallout Society Facebook fan page. It's right there. It's
Or you could
posted up there.
go to YouTube.
Go to YouTube and
Dirty Laundry is the title.
yeah, Dirty Laundry is the title.
And if Thomas Jane is listening somehow, that would be awesome. I just want to personally say that was one of the better fan films that I've seen in quite a while.
That was an excellent fan film because
Agreed.
it got the point.
It did.
It got the point right across.
It got the point of
And let's not leave
Yeah.
out the fact that Ron Perlman was in it.
And
That's true too.
that's true too.
That's true.
But also the fact of the matter was, it showed that Thomas Jane understood the character to the point where he threw in the little nuances that gave people hints that this is a Punisher film.
It's,
Right.
it's
Yes,
interesting
you
that
watched
you
the-
say. It's interesting
the first
that you
9
say that
minutes, say
because like
about it.
he
Yeah.
understood the character.
Right.
I think that sort of like is the determining factor whether or not a comic book movie is successful, and whether or not the filmmaker understands the character.
Oh, for
Case
sure.
in point.
Ghost Rider.
No, that was or I was going to say even Green Lantern.
Wait, I'll
Okay,
say this.
Now, in Green Lantern's defense, it felt to me like there was stuff that was cut out that should have been in there. Like they were missing scenes, that they took shortcuts on their CGI, and they didn't develop the story enough.
And I would point that out to maybe the filmmaker.
Right. Well, filmmaker or studio interference, however you want to look at it. If they do like an awesome like extended version of that movie that includes another 30 minutes of footage, you can fix that entire movie with an extra 20-25 minutes.
Well, while we're on the topic of superheroes, I know that you wrote down in the show notes. I hope you're happy.
My God, he's
This is
following
like the
them.
7th time he's referenced
This,
show
this
notes.
is awesome.
Yeah.
They're following the
We're
show
on the
notes.
5th line of show notes, and
Yeah,
this is the 7th
so
time he's talked about
for
it.
you gentlemen, who is your favorite actor to portray the following comic book roles and a Punisher? I mean, I'll say hands down.
Thomas Jane.
Thomas
Jane
Thomas
is a
Jane.
clear sweep.
I mean, it wasn't
now
over the top.
there is a fan base that actually feels that Dolph Lundgren was good.
I didn't think there was anything wrong with Dolph Lundgren.
No,
as the Punisher.
and that's another thing. That's a good point that you say that because Dolph Lundgren was very solid.
He was very
in his,
solid.
but I think Thomas Jane really captured actually captured the essence of what the Punisher character is all about.
Yeah.
Call me the Punisher.
Really, that's the soundbite.
That is the soundbite.
That is the soundbite.
That's
That was the
reason-
thing that you completely made me.
It's the little things that make the show good.
Okay, let's pull it back.
But in actuality, that
Pull it back before I
soundbite.
stab you to
Well,
death.
no, that soundbite. If you watch that full scene in the very end, you can see that Thomas Jane understands that character. It's
Yeah.
almost
Back
like
it up, fuzzball.
that too.
But anyway, so the favorite actor, we're all in accord. Punisher was definitely played the best by Thomas Jane.
for
Nothing
sure.
against
Well, and
nothing against Dolph Lundgren.
No,
His was solid.
His was still solid.
And I'll even say that Ray Stevenson, he was all right. It wasn't an epic fail.
See, here's my thing with the Punisher, dude. I have a hard time with Warzone as a Punisher movie. Take Punisher off of it, just call it Warzone, and it's a movie all on its own.
Yeah, the
There were really no
They-
parts of it to me felt like a Punisher story.
Yeah.
It just felt like a
Except
dude.
the characters, except for Punisher and Jigsaw.
Well, naming them that, whatever. It didn't feel...
Okay, no.
Like the feel of it wasn't what I view the Punisher as.
Yeah.
You know, in my opinion. But I thought the same thing with the Thomas Jane movie, like not the fan film. The fan film, I think, is the Punisher at its core. That film right there is the Punisher at its core. It's what the Punisher is. He's reluctant. He does it if he has to. He doesn't really want to go out and seek it. But if it comes to him, he'll take care of it.
He's going to take care of it.
And then that's how I felt with that. And I loved the scene at the end with the little boy. I thought that was cool.
That was awesome.
The reveal was an amazing reveal from that. And who knew Jack could be so deadly?
But anyway, okay, so Punisher, how about Superman?
Now, Superman's interesting because we do have Man of Steel coming out. And visually...
So in that case, we're not going to include Henry Cavill.
We're not going to kill him. No, you can't include Henry because we haven't seen the performance. You've seen the pictures. You've seen what he looks like. Does he look like Superman? Okay, but almost anybody can look like Superman.
I think in this case we're talking Christopher Reeve. We're talking Brandon Routh. We're talking George Reeve.
George Reeve. As you could probably put a crash to this. There's been so many actors playing Superman. You didn't even bring up Dean Cain for God's sake.
Oh Jesus. Oh, and then you also have what's his name from Smallville.
Thomas Wells.
Thomas
Welling.
Yeah. Well, I think Superman has been the most represented, but my favorite Superman is not even listed amongst you jackasses, and that would have to be Adam Baldwin doing the voice
for Superman, yeah,
on the DC Universe Online. I think, and a couple of the movies,
or even Tim Daly when he
Tim Daly does it really well. I think the voice actors have done a really good job with Superman. All of them. I can't say any of them did a bad job with it. But when it comes to live action,
what makes them as voice actors successful? What do they capture from Superman?
That all-American hero vibe.
Exactly. It's kind of like with Mark Hamill and the Joker. He plays the Joker really well because you can hear it in his voice.
He sounds a little bit crazy. And just like Superman sounds moral. He sounds like, like the wholesome
righteous.
Guy. Yeah, not necessarily righteous, but definitely like best interests of everyone involved.
Or even the one that I really like as voice actor is the one that the actor that does Batman. He's done all the Batman.
Kevin Conroy.
Yes, Kevin Conroy.
He's done all the Batman voices that past years.
Forever.
And that's what you expect. You don't really expect, like
the whisper,
the growl,
Okay, so let's pull it back and
pick someone to be our favorite Superman. Christopher Reeves for me is Superman. He's got the look. I think Brandon Routh was doing a Christopher Reeves impression when he made Superman Returns, which made sense because it was the third movie.
It was a
reboot.
I think when you think of Superman, a lot of people do think and they envision Christopher Reeve.
You do. Now I think our grandparents envisioned George Reeve, but for me, I've seen the serials, I've seen it, and he was good. Yeah, he was good as Superman. He played Superman for a while on TV,
and that's how a lot of Superman is based on.
Right, exactly. A lot of even the comic book stuff was based on George Reeve portrayal, and then it kind of switched over to the Christopher Reeves portrayal in the '80s and the '90s. And I think, but for me, Christopher Reeves is Superman. Like you see him and he's Superman. There's no contest.
Yeah, there's
no contest for me. Now maybe Henry
Cavill.
Maybe he will do an amazing job with Superman and change the way I think about Superman. I doubt it. It's going to be a very hard thing to do because Brandon Routh even looked like Christopher Reeve.
Yeah, everyone even Brandon Routh even said he studied Christopher Reeve.
Right, because
that's the problem I had with Superman Returns.
That was the problem.
Yeah,
he was the problem you had.
No. The entire movie was a problem.
Well, no, I don't think the entire movie was
I didn't like the idea. I was expecting some sort of reboot. I wasn't expecting some sort of pickup from a 1980s movie.
Honestly, I thought that was a very cute thing to do. I think that's why it ultimately failed. And that so many people that went and saw Superman Returns hadn't seen the first two movies, didn't understand really what was going on at the beginning of the movie. And then you had a small child pushing a piano.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Superman Returns came out after Batman Begins.
No, Batman Begins was after Superman Returns came out about a year before Batman Begins. Because Superman Returns was 06, Batman Begins was 08, and then 2010 was Dark Knight. 2012.
Okay, I'm thinking whether or not after watching like Batman Begins and Dark Knight, the perspective that we have of comic book movies
of what they're supposed to be.
Yeah,
well, for sure.
And I think that's why Superman Returns is kind of, a lot of people have started liking it now.
The thing with Superman Returns is that it came out in that middle period where we had been let down by Batman and Robin, and then
well, before we get to Batman
the movie
and Robin,
that you shall not speak.
Well, yes. Before we get to Batman and Robin, Christopher Reeves.
Here's the funny part. For Brian, it's Christopher Reeves. For me, I have to be honest. I really did like Brandon Routh. Brandon Routh was really good. I wished that he would have actually continued the role, because it would have been interesting to see. Okay, he took it to where it was.
And I sort of see your point. I thought Brandon Routh did a good job.
But there were little nuances in his performance that actually he started molding it into something else. And I was like, by the end of it, the thing that ticked me off, by the end of it, I'm like going, where are we going with this? Because you want to see what Brandon Routh's going to do with it, and then it just falls flat.
It does. And the movie was long. I didn't think it was boring. A lot of my friends did, but I can sit through crap if it's got Superman in it. I don't care. And honestly, I thought it was a good movie until the point that the child pushed the piano, and I'm going to harp on that like a mofo.
Well,
that caught me off guard.
I would probably side with Brian that my lasting memory of Superman is Christopher Reeve, but I would say that I think Brandon Routh does come pretty close second.
Yeah. Well, and see, for me, like the reason that I choose Christopher Reeves is that so much of Brandon Routh's performance was based on Christopher Reeve's performance. How can you choose the knockoff when you can have the original?
Yeah,
and that's
I definitely understand that, but I mean, it's just the fact that Brandon Routh really did a really good job.
Okay. Well, moving on. I mean, unless you want.
No. I'm good on Superman.
Because Mr. Show Notes wrote a bunch of stuff on here.
I know. There's so much on there.
I know. Insane. Like, can't you just at least stick to a single point?
No, not really.
All right, we move on to our next character, Batman. Christian Bale. All right, moving on. We move on to Spider-Man.
Wow, that was quick.
Well, do you disagree?
You know what? The funny part is, I do.
I don't know who you're gonna say, and you know what? Honestly,
say Val Kilmer,
no. I know who you're gonna say.
No, I'm not joking. I'm not gonna say.
But I think it's solid because I think he did a good job of playing Batman his own way, and I'm talking about Adam West.
Okay, here's the thing.
That's the one I grew up with.
Adam West's Batman wasn't angry at all. Yeah, please play something, some kind of drop. I don't even care.
Damn it! God!
Yeah, that works.
Hell with it.
You know, my issue with Adam West is that his Batman
was based on the 1950s, 1960s.
50s and 60s comic book. So his Batman is seminal for that. Yes, I will give you that.
I'm Batman.
Yeah.
There you go.
But Christian Bale's Batman, Jesus. Christian Bale's Batman is more based on what we as comic book fans have come to know as Batman over the last 20 years. Since, The Long Halloween, Death in the Family, all of those storylines where Batman has become this really angry.
And I don't want to say it's all credited to Christian Bale. I think Christopher Nolan.
I think a majority
captured
Christopher Nolan
what Batman really is.
I'll agree with you on that. I will agree with you on that. I think he did a great job with that. I think this third film was, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love the ending. I think they did miss a little bit in that it got away from Batman being Batman. Every time you see Batman in the film, he's on a vehicle or in a vehicle.
Yeah.
He's not Batman, except for that one scene where him and Selina are kicking ass on the roof. It's really the only scene where you see Batman fighting anyone.
I guess that's true.
And that's always been Batman's forte.
And let's give credit where credit's due. Batman was more than just Adam West and Christian Bale.
Yeah. My actual serious pick is actually been Michael Keaton. Now, Michael Keaton,
I think he's been forgotten, actually, and I think that, that's a good point.
Yeah, Michael Keaton, for me, epitomized what Bruce Wayne was. He was the perfect medium Christian Bale's like, for me, I love Christian Bale.
I thought the first movie captured it really well with the Bruce Wayne thing, the double life.
The double life.
I thought that was awesome in the first film. But then they got away from it in the subsequent
They got
films,
away from it.
Which is fine, though, because in the third film, it was that whole, he's
And
been
before,
gone for 8 years.
yeah, before even like Michael Keaton was actually, we got to see him as Batman. We thought of Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice.
For sure,
That was a pretty, back then. I mean, nowadays, if you would try to pull off something like that,
What, Beetlejuice?
you know, like a
Be out there.
comedic character to play a serious character,
Like a serious actor.
a serious actor, you know, or something.
I guess.
But you know, not to stray from the point, Michael Keaton was solid.
He was solid. I think if you go with Batman films as a whole, though, you have to choose this last trilogy.
True.
As a whole, I think it's been the definitive kind of, this is what Batman is now. And I think what Christopher Nolan did was in the first one, he gave you Bruce Wayne. In the second one, he gave you the idea that Bruce Wayne is becoming an idea.
Yeah.
Batman is becoming almost like a
symbol.
Like a symbol, like which is what he wanted to be. And then the third one, you get the symbol realized. In that Batman didn't really do shit in this third movie. He did. It was the people that rose up under his name.
Under his name.
It was the people that rose up under his name, and I thought that was a really interesting thing for Christopher Nolan to do, is that he definitely had a 3-movie plan, and he stuck to it. I don't think the studios interfered a whole lot with him. I think he got lucky in that.
It was sort of like a perfect storm in a sort of way.
It kind of was. It was that we were ready for the Batman that he gave us as fans, and I think that it was just the perfect timing for it. We had gotten sick of the snap your fingers Spider-Man. We had gotten, you know, a little bit tired of it, and I think Marvel did a good job with their reboot as well on just their whole movie franchise.
Yeah. So I take it that you don't even want to mention Clooney and Kilmer.
They don't count.
They don't count.
Clooney was better than Kilmer, but still they pale in comparison to either any of the three that we've mentioned.
And that's not saying they were bad actors. It was just the fact that, just like what Brian alluded to, the whole is what can kill you. I mean, Clooney for himself could have actually made a really great Batman, an older Batman.
Well, and he has the Playboy thing down pat.
And he has the Playboy thing down pat. The problem was, the people that surrounded that project killed it.
And the nipples.
But, you know, just like what you guys said, it was a perfect storm. Nolan had pretty much carte blanche on
control.
anything.
I mean, he really did.
In some, Christian Bale. Moving on.
Christian Bale, that's fine.
Moving on.
All right.
Moving on. The last character you have here, I'm interested to hear, Spider-Man.
Now, I have to be honest with you, too. I'm a horrible, horrible comic book fan. I still haven't seen the new Spider-Man movie.
Now, see, the reason why I brought it up was because I saw the Spider-Man movie just recently, too.
Okay.
And the funny part is
everyone slackers.
Everyone constantly brings up. But everyone brings up, you know, like the fact that Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man pales in comparison to
Tobey Maguire.
How
could you be any worse than Tobey Maguire?
Well, Tobey Maguire was great in the very first Spider-Man, but then by Spider-Man 3, he was a goth bitch.
Yeah.
No, you know what it was in Spider-Man 3? He was a caricature of Spider-Man / Peter Parker.
Yeah.
He wasn't either of them anymore.
And I tell people, don't hold anything against anybody associated with Spider-Man 3, because Sam Raimi literally has come out and said the reason why Spider-Man 3 came out the way it was because he got angry at the studios pushing him, and finally he basically said, okay, fine, here's Spider-Man 3, suck it, I'm out. Mm-hmm. And that was it.
That's unfortunate.
That is really unfortunate. I understand that at the same time, they wanted him to have, 912 villains and a convoluted storyline, the weakest Venom we've ever seen.
It goes to, again, an ongoing saga, and so to speak, that movie studios sometimes they completely do epic fail.
Well, here's the thing with the movie studio. The more money they give you to make a film, the more they're going to fuck with you about what your finished product looks like.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man 3 had the largest budget of all 3 Spider-Man films. The first Spider-Man film had a small budget in comparison to the last 2.
Well, since you saw the last Spider-Man, and correct me if I'm wrong, I know that there was another actor that played Spider-Man on the 70s show.
There was a TV show in the 70s.
There was a TV show.
I've never seen it. I'm too young. So.
Yeah, I saw that. I actually have a collection of them.
I'm sure you do. I'm not even going to get into that. But anyway, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire.
But between those two, the funny part is, I still would probably give Tobey Maguire the edge. But Andrew Garfield, I think, fits the mold better. Tobey Maguire, honestly, since number 1 and number 3, you could tell it's kind of forced. Mm-hmm. He's forced into that role. Number 2 was his pinnacle. The second Spider-Man film is my favorite Spider-Man film.
Now, a lot of people say that the second one was
the strongest one. Was the strongest one, and it showcased absolutely everyone's talent. The problem was, taken into a whole, Tobey Maguire just was forced into that role of Peter Parker. Andrew Garfield, when I saw it, fits the mold.
Well, not only
he fits the mold of what we see Spider-Man Peter Parker now.
From what I understand about it is that a lot of the story elements from this new one were Ultimate Spider-Man as opposed to Old School Spider-Man.
Old School Spider-Man.
And the Ultimate Spider-Man storyline is a much more dynamic storyline than Uncle Ben gets shot and killed.
Yeah. I'll admit, from my point of view, I'm not a big Spider-Man fan. I'm sort of like meh on him. But so when I went to go see the recent Spider-Man movie, I had very low expectations.
And that's why I tell people you got to go low.
After that, I could see the references to the Ultimate Universe, and I actually came out of that movie a lot more positive than I thought I would be.
I mean, everyone that has reviewed the Spider-Man movie has always criticized Andrew Garfield as being too snarky. But there's no such thing as being too snarky when you're Spider-Man. He talks while he fights the villain.
He's always done that.
He's always done that.
I would say, based off of what I've seen recently, I'd say Andrew Garfield is probably the strongest actor.
He is probably
Spider-Man. Would you agree since you've seen it? I'd ask you, but you haven't even seen it.
I haven't seen it. I'm sorry.
Epic fail.
I know, right? Here's the thing. I was not given show notes before I walked through the door today. Nor do I think anyone else was here.
I'm still trying to figure out, how show notes work.
See, from what I understand, show notes are supposed to be given 2, 3, 4, maybe even a week before you do the show.
Oh, that doesn't happen.
What do you think this is, Cazador Radio?
Maybe someday.
Yeah. Someday.
Yes. All right. According to your notes,
be careful,
my feeble-minded friend over here. Speculations on Iron Man 3. What the hell's new?
Now, here's the thing. Well, we posted up on Facebook, also on our site, which you guys can go on Facebook, search the Atomic Fallout
Society. You're posting to our Facebook account?
Yeah.
You're not posting those obscene images, are you?
Not of you.
Yet.
No. Those are still on my SD card.
Yeah. But
Thank you, Alan Moore.
The first article that I posted up was actually the Patriot armor.
You see, when that came out, I almost blew a gasket. Seriously, because I was like going to go.
Which is funny because I blew a gasket and you told me to calm down.
No, I looked at it and I'm like going, really? You're going to bring in the Iron Patriot? Just like that?
And then they basically also brought up the fact the new during the panel for Iron Man 3 at the San Diego Comic-Con, they unveiled the new suit.
Right.
And they connected it to the comic book, which is when you look at the Marvel Now poster, that Iron Man suit that you see is what he's supposed to be wearing.
Not to leave it hanging, but apparently, and correct me if I'm wrong, that image that's been going around the internet isn't the Iron Patriot. It's actually the War Machine. And they actually painted him red, white, and blue.
Here's the thing. They said that, but they said that only because people had a shit fit when they found out that the Iron Patriot's in there, and there's no mention of Norman Osborn, meaning someone's wearing the Iron Patriot suit without Norman Osborn.
Now that I think about it, I think it might have been a little overreacting to jump off the handle like that, but I can... like filmmakers sometimes take certain liberties.
No. Well, actually, there's a good thing because studios and filmmakers reacted really quickly. They basically said, no, it's just War Machine painted up like that.
Right. No, and I get that, dude. I understand them, especially with a property as big as Iron Man has become for them. It's the flagship of the Marvel Universe right now.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's not. It's Iron Man that's the flagship. It's the flagship for the Avengers. It's the flagship for all of the Avenger tie-ins. Like, everything started with Iron Man.
Well, I'm going to skip this point here because that's we don't really have to go into that unless you want to.
Actually, I wanted to because a lot of our fans were talking about it when we posted it up, which was what will the idea of what are they going to do.
The only reason why I don't want it to hit the topic isn't because I want to irritate you.
Yeah,
it's because it's a spoiler.
It is a spoiler, but by now...
No, it's not a spoiler, dude, because it's all speculation.
It's all speculation.
DC or Warner Brothers have
It's sort of like it's a spoiler for anybody, but then again, I think half of the planet has already seen
Right,
Dark
I mean,
Knight
I know I'm
Rises.
one of the few that hasn't seen Spider-Man, and I know this. But if
because Spider-Man's not as big. I'll be honest, I'm a big Spider-Man fan, but it's not as big as Batman.
Here's the deal with what you guys are talking about, what we're about to spoil right now. Essentially, it's been, 2.5 weeks now that The Dark Knight has been in theaters. Your friends have spoiled more for you than we ever could if you haven't seen it yet. That's all I'm saying.
All right, I just wanted to throw some common courtesy.
But I get it. The pick that everyone has had literally buzz over.
It's the Joseph Gordon-Levitt as
Nightwing.
Is he Nightwing?
How did it surface? No one knows.
Well, no. Here's the deal.
That's
it's a Photoshop.
It's a
Photoshop image. Yeah. What they did was they took the Batman suit, colored some blue lines on it, and added in the Nightwing symbol over the Batman symbol.
Yeah.
With Gordon-Levitt's face and the goggles.
Yeah.
And let's just say, like a 7-year-old with Photoshop could turn
nowadays.
At this point, are you kidding me, dude? A little time when Ease Boy could do it.
Yeah. Even though everyone knows it's a fan thing,
it looks amazing.
It looks amazing,
and
it does feed the rumor.
It does feed the rumor, no, for sure.
Because
here's the thing. I think at this point, DC and Warner Brothers both have a huge undertaking in trying to come up with something in response to the end of this trilogy. If Superman, Man of Steel doesn't do well, they're kind of screwed because they have nothing else. Marvel has this whole staple of movies that have done well. DC has Batman, which is done. It's done. Christopher Nolan's done. Christian Bale's done. Christian Bale had said that he will not do a movie with Robin in it.
He won't even do a movie without Christopher Nolan.
Right, and Christopher Nolan got around that very cleverly, I thought.
Which right now, somebody in Hollywood right now in some movie studio is trying to come up. He's trying to come up with let's give Christopher Nolan $1 billion. To go ahead and do Batman 4, which he probably won't.
No, he won't do Batman 4. Here's the deal. He will most likely executive produce like he did for Man of Steel.
Man of Steel.
He's the producer on
it. Now, I don't know if you realize this, but Christopher Nolan wrote the story for Man of Steel.
Well, he was a co-writer.
Who's the director right now for Man of Steel?
Zack Snyder.
Zack Snyder, which I think is... It could be really good or it could be really bad.
I think he's gotten a bad flack because of Watchmen, but I enjoyed Watchmen.
The thing is with Zack Snyder and comic book properties, because he also did 300.
He did 300. Yeah.
He did. That was good too.
Here's the thing with both Watchmen and 300. If you take a look and you pause it every scene, you can flip to the actual page in the comic book and see the visual, which I thought was awesome. The problem with Superman, the Man of Steel,
there's no comic book.
There's no comic book to go off of. And that kind of scares me a little bit when it comes to just his style.
But Zack Snyder also, did a non-comic book movie, Dawn of the Dead, which I thought visually was pretty good.
Visually, it was good.
I was not a huge fan of it.
Yeah,
I mean, it needed to be redone. I think
it needed to be redone, but I understand that.
There was you could have given it to a horror.
And I really don't want to. I really don't want to send out bad vibes to Zack Snyder because I like him.
I do
because. But he is the same guy that also brought us Sucker Punch.
And see, here's the thing. I think
the thing.
Sucker Punch is incredibly misunderstood. I love that movie. I love it. Absolutely every part of it. Visually, that movie is amazing.
Visually, yes.
Amazing. The storyline. How many times have you watched it?
I probably watched it like 4 times just to see if I can figure it out.
Still can?
And I can.
Tony?
0.
Well, then you can't say shit
You
about
can't see shit.
All I've heard
You
is
know
that.
what? You know what, dude? Here's my thing with Sucker
Okay,
Punch.
we're even. You haven't seen Amazing Spider-Man.
Exactly.
I haven't seen Sucker
Right,
Punch.
but I didn't try to say anything about Amazing Spider-Man because I haven't seen it.
Exactly.
You, on the other hand,
Sucker Punch.
I said Sucker Punch because hey, everybody
But
in
it's true.
Hollywood
You're right.
knows.
You're
But
right.
it's
There's
true.
a lot of people that didn't
I mean,
like that film.
The thing is like with Sucker Punch, my main gripe with Sucker Punch was the story.
It was-
Visually, it was wow, that was cool.
Okay, how many times did you watch Memento before you got it?
Probably 3 times.
Right, it took 3 times to watch Memento before you actually understood what the hell was
Yeah.
going on. Sucker Punch to me felt the same. You have to watch it. Like you said, you watch it 4 times. You still don't get it.
I still don't get it.
I don't know, man. Maybe we should just sit down and watch it together, and I'll explain it to you as we go along.
Well, in some, like I know there's a lot of speculation on Iron Man 3, on Man of Steel, and even on the Nightwing Begins, like you wrote down.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's what everyone's talking
No,
about.
but like I was saying, I think
Nightwing Begins.
Do you keep Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Nightwing? Do you turn him into Batman? Do you turn him into, you know what I mean? Like,
I have no problem.
Bruce fixed the bat signal at the end of the movie.
I have no
awesome.
problem.
Is that for Nightwing now?
I have no problem with Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, John Blake, or Robin John Blake. Whoops, spoiler. Becoming the new Batman. I have no problem.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem. I also don't have a problem with him being Nightwing.
Yeah.
I don't care. I want to see him in that role. I want to see where they go with this mythos that they've created, where Batman is an idea, and someone else could someone else step in. And not only that, but once again, another spoiler here. Bruce set up the perfect Robin factory at the mansion.
Yeah.
You have like 100 little orphans. He can just pick one. If he dies, grab another one.
That's a very good. That's
Just
a very
saying.
good.
Just
good
say
point.
it, yeah.
But going back to your original point of Iron Man 3, is there anything that's of concerning or exciting about Iron Man 3?
The exciting thing for me is the fact that they're actually touching on the Mandarin. We all know that Ben Kingsley is Mandarin.
Because he plays
really
such
cool.
a great Asian.
Sir Ben Kingsley.
Sir. Ben
No, because he plays such a great Asian.
You know what, dude? He pulled off Gandhi.
I know.
He can pull off Asian.
Yeah, anybody that could pull off
And he
Gandhi.
pulled off Persian.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm following you.
So Jake Gyllenhaal. Okay, Persian doesn't count.
Okay, pull it
He
back.
played Gandhi, guys.
Pull it back.
Gandhi.
Iron Man 3. Any concerns?
The only concern that I have is actually the stuff that's being talked about. The fact that they're pushing too much stuff inside of it.
Are they?
Kind of like what they did with the old Batman stuff, where they had multiple villains. Here we go. We're gonna have the Crimson Dynamo. We're gonna have Mandarin show up. I'm going. There's too many here. You guys did fantastic by pulling it back and saying, okay, like in the first one, you just had Obadiah Stane,
Yeah.
which was fine. That
Jeff Bridges
worked.
was a great Obadiah Stane.
That he was.
And then in the second one, they kind of pushed it a little too far with, let's put Whiplash and then we'll put Justin Hammer.
You know what, though? I thought it worked well the way that Whiplash worked with Hammer.
Yeah.
I thought that was...
Justin Hammer should have been used a little bit more.
I'll agree with you on that. I think
He
Hammer-
should have been the main villain, but in actuality, it was Whiplash.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But then, in this one, I'm like, okay, we're hearing things like, the Crimson Dynamo's going to be in it, Mandarin's going to be in it. There's even talk like other superheroes are going to show up.
Well, and at this point, it makes sense for other superheroes to show up in any of these films because they've already done the Avengers.
But wouldn't it take away?
Does it?
Think about it.
Well, how many
like,
times have they done like the Marvel team-up looks that work when it's 2 of them?
When it's 2 of them.
When it's 2 of them.
And that's what I said. I mean, I'm willing to say, okay, maybe it'll work. But if you put too much, then we're going to get, like Batman and Robin again. And that's the scary thing.
Well, I don't want to just isolate everything with Iron Man 3, with Man of Steel, even with a movie that hasn't been officially announced with Batman 4 or Nightwing,
yeah,
whatever.
exactly, whatever.
I mean, San Diego Comic-Con did also give us announcements of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Rocket Raccoon.
I knew that you were going to be happy with that.
They gave us Thor 2.
They gave us Thor, which
Cap
is the Dark
2,
World, Captain America.
Ant-Man, and...
I like the titles. The titles are sort of like giveaway of what direction they're
Yeah,
going.
because they went Winter Soldier with
Winter
Captain.
Soldier.
That sounds
which I think is
cool.
gonna
That
be good.
one I'm really looking forward to.
I'm really excited for
and
that.
I know that
because-
Ed Brubaker's probably his head exploded.
Yeah,
as
fuck
he-
him. I think they missed the mark a little bit with
The
first
comments
Captain
by Brian Smith do not
Yeah.
reflect our feelings towards Ed Brubaker. Thank you very much.
But I have to agree with you. I mean, like, if you do put like the Marvel movies in a thing, like what Brian said, is like Cap still doesn't beat Iron Man. Iron Man's still number one.
Oh yeah, for sure,
but
sure.
like Cap was.
I liked Cap.
I loved Cap.
I liked Cap, but I think that it felt like a giant trailer
Yeah.
for.
It's
the
basically
Avengers
popcorn candy.
Yeah, it was.
Candy.
It was. I mean, it was like you had
Captain America was
Hawkman.
actually my favorite superhero movie of that year.
Well, there wasn't much that came out. Thor came out, and
I thought Thor. The plot was.
eggs.
Well, my thing.
Really?
My thing with Thor. My biggest issue with it was the love interest. They knew each other for 2 days. Like, come
Yeah.
on, dude. Like, really?
It, like, just
he's a
happened. Boom.
god. He's like thousands of years old. Like, 2 days isn't going to be enough.
He's probably fucked aliens or something like that. I don't know. Or fucked unicorns. This is my way of saying that right now.
Are you a furry, bro? Are you coming out?
Or is he a brony?
Are you a brony?
Anyway, we have definitely, that's a lot we've really covered this. This
Yeah,
show.
but we're not
we
even
have
done. We're not
show
even
notes.
done with the show notes, though.
No, because these show notes are too long.
Like,
No,
I
they weren't.
had wait. I had homework to do for this show, and we didn't even talk about it.
Exactly. We'll have to save it for the 50th.
The 50th, we'll talk about it.
All right, why don't we just say it for the 50th?
All right.
We're going to take this time out to thank again Miguel and Kevin at Gotham City Comics and Coffee for having us conduct our show here.
Yes.
And we may come back for the 50th. I don't know.
You might.
You might
find
actually
us-
get a very big surprise for the 50th.
Yeah.
So
All right.
we're working on something
All
very
right,
special.
all right. I'll
for
leave it
that.
up
and
to you
very
guys.
symbolic. Batman symbolic.
Yes, Batman symbolic.
In the meantime, you could find the Atomic Cup Fallout Society podcast at abnormalentertainment.blogspot.com. Abnormalentertainment.blogspot.com. Did you get that down? That's part of your homework.
Dude, it's in my favorites bar. I don't have to memorize it.
Where you could find Sensory Overload, which is still coming soon.
Oh, that hasn't changed. But it's out.
And yeah, Future of Man, Cinema Head Cheese, the podcast, put it together, the BS Carnival, Corazon en la Mano, that's my Spanish, Racer Spirits with Cam and Kevin, Rocket Propel Gaming, Unprotected Sports with Tony and the Lion, the one and only, and the flagship, Kevin Hates Everything.
They just hit 100 episodes, right?
Yep.
Yep, exactly. Congratulations to our own fearless leader, Kevin Moyers, and his 100th episode of Kevin Hates Everything, which is astonishing because, like,
We're halfway.
I don't know of anybody else who could actually hate for 100 episodes.
That is true.
Jacob could.
Maybe we
Jacob
should have Jacob at the 50th show.
If you guys want, I will bring my roommate from,
Dude,
our
the
production
Atomic-
company, Robot Vampire Productions. We can bring him over. If
And
you
we will
want.
make that a 2-hour show.
I am so down for that.
We will make a 2-hour show.
Alright, it's fair.
A
Right, and
special
here's the deal.
2-hour 50th show. My call.
Well, then here's what we're going to do, guys. At the 50th show, I will also have a big reveal for you that Jake and I will bring out.
Please,
Okay.
we want to keep this family.
Oh, no. It'll be family. Trust me. It'll
Okay.
be all in the family.
In the meantime, you could still find the Atomic Fallout Society at atomicfallout.blogspot.com. That's atomicfallout.blogspot.com. And if you happen to be away from a computer, you could always follow the podcast through Stitcher Smart Radio.
It's on my
Stitcher
my
Smart
Galaxy
Radio.
app.
Stitcher Smart Radio. All you have to do is just download it to your tablet, to your
You
smartphone.
can stream it. You don't even have to download it if you don't want to save it.
Save
You
it.
can just
Exactly.
stream it.
And then when you go to Stitcher Smart Radio, you just type in the promo code Atomic Fallout, and you could win $100.
But where do you get to spend that $100?
Well, David, why don't you tell us where or how you spend the $100 if you happen to win?
Oh, gladly. Well,
How many of
see,
these do we
unlike,
need, Joe?
unlike Mitt Romney, I'm a major advocate of porn. So, if you go to adamandeve.com, the lovely sponsors of Abnormal Entertainment, you can go to adamandeve.com and punch in the promo code ATOMIC and actually get 50% off almost any item, 3 free DVDs, and free shipping. Plus, from what I heard, adamandeve.com will actually send you a special one-time gift, courtesy of the Atomic Fallout Society.
It's not used, is it?
I hope not.
I feel so uncomfortable mentioning
and that's why I'm
inside
not
a
voting
comic
wrong.
book shop.
Well, here, you know what? Let me make you a little more uncomfortable, bud. Adam and Eve gets me through many.
All right. Hey, what a way to really just bring this show to a close.
Do you know that they're actually coming out with a Dark Knight Rises Triple X parody?
That's right. It's still called Dark Knight, right?
Oh, God.
It's on my waiting list.
For the Atomic Fallout Society, this is Tony Sabal.
This is David Sabal.
And Brian Smith.
We will see you 2 weeks from now. It'll be our 50th episode. Who knows what mayhem we may have planned, because I'm already getting creeped out by the
As you
vibes
should,
that I'm
sir.
getting.
As you should, Captain.
All right. We will see you then.
Welcome to the Atomic Fallout Society. Welcome to the Atomic Fallout Society. Welcome to the Atomic Fallout Society.
Yeah, we're still on camera.
Very twisted tale. Very twisted tale. Welcome to the Atomic Fallout Society. Welcome to the Atomic Fallout Society. Welcome to the Atomic Fallout
Don't be
Society.
scared. Just a tip.
Very
Just to see how it feels.
tale. Very twisted tale.
Experiment.
We're gonna play hide and seek.
Be open to experimentation.
We'll play some swords.
Tell me sticks.
It's fine. You can close your ears so I don't need them.